There are many ways to see this great state. You can take a leisurely drive along Route 1 all the way up the coast. You can speed the turnpike. You could seek out a river course and follow it into the very heart of the state. Or you could find a logging track or a hiking trail deep in the wilds. There are many ways to see this beautiful state, but maybe the best of all is from the air. Come along, join us. We're about to take off on what we fancifully call Air Maine.
Please be sure your seatbelts are fastened low and tight across your lap and that all electronic devices are turned off, except for your television sets. Welcome aboard this special flight of Air Maine, destination all over this most beautiful state in America.
Let us start with the heart. The heart of Maine, geographically, agriculturally, commercially, spiritually, is the forest. The forest primeval, as Maine's poet Longfellow put it. Woods and lakes, ponds and trees. Not just the various species of pine from which the state takes its nickname, whose cone and tassel are the state flower, but all the coniferous and deciduous trees that blanket most of this state. We can read the statistics: 17 million acres of woods, nearly 90% of the state's land mass given to trees. We can read that, but we don't really feel it till we're up here looking down. What a sight. Any time of year, but especially in autumn, when the maple, birch, beech, oak and ash go copper and crimson, scarlet and gold, a wash of flame set against the resilient, unyielding green of the conifers. Nothing else like the Maine woods. Visit places like Fort Kent, you think perhaps the sturdiness of Maine's forests accounts for the sturdy character of Mainers themselves, those who have settled and thrived here in Madawaska, those who contest with the elements to make their lives and make their living from what can be a hard land. Hard, but from up here with broccoli, potatoes, grains near the harvest, it is a beautiful tapestry. Maine has this distinction. It is the only state that touches just one other, New Hampshire. New Hampshire is the gateway for most who come to Maine, So let's take a run up the coast, beginning, as the state did, with Kittery, Maine's first town, founded November 20th, 1652. York was just 2 days behind, still would like a recount. The Maine coast of stereotype is rugged rock, but the Maine coast hundreds of thousands visit each year is soft summer sand, the renowned beaches of southern Maine. A few places along here have earned special renown. A former president's home at Kennebunkport. Trout's Neck inspired artist Winslow Homer. Wouldn't he have loved the view from up here, looking down on the liquid embroidery of surf? When we reach Two Lights, the two lighthouses arrayed in a beckoning line, the coast begins to change. Beaches behind us, the shore gets craggier. We come upon the lighthouse George Washington commissioned, the light at Portland Head, and we know we've arrived at the state's largest city. Anyone from away would hardly consider it large, but 65,000 people is bustle enough for Mainers, thank you. Especially when tens of thousands pour into the city to witness a seaborne spectacle like Topsail 2000. Tall ships sailing in to celebrate the millennium in the state which helped lead our young nation to seafaring primacy hundreds of years ago. A celebration of heritage and at the same time a handsome and thrilling show. Well, as so often happens in the presence of graceful sailing ships, we have digressed. Let's get back to our flight along the Maine coast, heading down east, as they say, or up the coast, as most of us think. Glimpsing some of Maine's 7,000 farms. And the towns. Yarmouth, South Freeport, leading, of course, to that town by which millions of Americans know Maine, Freeport. L.L. Bean, and along Main Street all the other merchants who have clustered here to share the wealth. Discount outlets and inns like the beautiful Harrisicot Inn. And just outside the town, a curiosity, suddenly sand. 40 acres of sand. The desert of Maine, so an enterprising entrepreneur named it. Brunswick, the spires of Bowdoin College, founded 1694. Bath, the place that launched 1,000 ships, or a lot anyhow, from BIW, the Bath Iron Works. No more distinctive rock shore than the coast at Pemaquid Point. Now we find ourselves looking down on waters that are indescribably, incomparably, almost blindingly blue. Only from up here, such a view. Rockland is a commercial center and a cultural center. The magnificent little Farnsworth Museum and its annex devoted solely to the works of the family Wyeth. If Rockport is not the prettiest harbor in all of Maine, then Camden must be. These are the sights that inspired Edna St. Vincent Millay. Now we wind and wend, as millions do, toward Acadia. Past Ellsworth, seat of Hancock County, and 20 miles or so down Route 3 to the coast and across onto Mount Desert Island. Here, generations ago, some people thought it would be a good idea to put together lands to be saved, not overrun by commerce and community, but preserved as they were mostly wild. Those lands became Cerdamont National Monument, which became Lafayette National Park, which is now Acadia National Park. Most visitors see it by looping around on Ocean Drive. Nice way. But let us veer off and find our own beauties. Now, if Acadia for millions is a place to play, down East Maine from here on is more a place to work. Oh, there's still beauty, raw, unspoiled beauty, but folks down east are more hard-pressed by their environment, their economy. They are rugged as land, persistent as sea. It is they who give the name Downeaster its pride. near the end of our coastal run. Across the water, Canada. We have traveled about 320 air miles. If we had followed each crease and wrinkle of the coast, we would have gone maybe 3,500. Many of those miles, of course, many of the miles of Maine coast are along Maine islands. Well, let's not miss those. The densest freckling of islands anywhere off this continent is right here in the waters of Maine. More than 3,000 islands, peopled, abandoned, or never inhabited. Each island, it seems, with its own lore and mystique, like Jewel Island, where supposedly the pirate Captain Kidd hid his hoards. One of the closest large islands to the mainland is the 12-mile-long string bean called Islesboro, just off the coast of Lincolnville. Farthest out, Matinicus Rock and its puffin rookery. The most remote, nothing else around for 25 miles, is Mount Desert Rock, site of a research station for whale study, College of the Atlantic's Allied Whale Project. Each island, a story. Let us not fall into the trap of thinking of Maine as just the coast, or Maine waters as just the sea. Let us fly the rivers. There are 32,000 miles of rivers and streams softly carving this landscape. Important from the beginning as routes of navigation, highways when there were no highways. Important today for power. for recreation. Rivers with fine Indian names, the Presumpscot, reaching up from Portland to find the second largest lake in the state, Sebago. And to find Maine's oldest covered bridge. It's called Dobbs Bridge. The mighty Androscoggin rises at the New Hampshire border and flows south. Follow it upriver through the towns of Brunswick, Lisbon Falls, past the mills of Lewiston, birthplace of painter and poet Marsden Hartley. And home of Bates College. On to its sister city, Auburn. Lewiston, Auburn. Maine has its own L.A., more French than California's. Back when ice was the way you kept things cold, the very best ice, it was said, came from here, the Kennebec River, its mouth guarded by islands and lighthouses. Popham Beach is where the British built the first ship ever made in America, the Virginia, in 1607. Let us follow the Kennebec then, from Bath up to the political heart of Maine, the state capital, Augusta. Now look closely. The Edwards Dam here used to harness the Kennebec for power. Yesterday, here. Today, gone. The Kennebec returned to its natural course, fish to their natural habitat. From here, the Kennebec reaches up to Waterville, Skowhegan, proud home of the late Senator Margaret Chase Smith. And on past farmland and hydroelectric dam, town and country. Mostly, what we see as we travel the course of the Kennebec is the glory of the Maine landscape. And finally, Moosehead Lake, largest of Maine's 6,000 lakes and ponds, and one of the state's greatest attractions, along whose shore sits the town of Greenville, once home to a logging industry which thrived on the free transportation offered by the untamed Kennebec. The river that really drew settlers and explorers to the northern wilds was the Penobscot. Upriver, the Penobscot passes under the magnificent Waldo Hancock Bridge built in 1931. To reach Bucksport, across the Penobscot from the town, stands Fort Knox, built in 1844, mounted with mighty cannon never needed. The fort today, either a mark of prudent preparedness or a reminder of unfounded fear. On up the Penobscot we go to Bangor, home once to timber barons, home today to Stephen King. Bangor has gone from pulp to fiction. Across the Penobscot from Bangor, sister city Brewer. Upriver just a ways, Orono. Home of the University of Maine. Upriver yet farther, the industrial towns of Lincoln and Medway. Finally, to the town that sits nearly at the foot of what might be Maine's single greatest asset, Baxter State Park. The town is Millinocket. There's been a boom house at the head of Ambajijas Lake since 1835, the only surviving building directly connected to the downriver log drives that were once a way of life along the Penobscot. It's called the Pockwockomus Deadwater, but from here, the waters are very alive with the play of light, the play of the water itself. A-Ball Campground, from which adventurers set off toward Katahdin. Maine's mountainous masterpiece, rising more than a mile into the air, monument to nature and to the people of Maine who want to maintain public lands and keep them wild. Wild rivers that challenge and excite in a big way. Little way. Deep, still waters that invite the solitary paddler. The rush of adrenaline as rock and river and human strength challenge one another. Gorges carved by ice and time and water, to rush one more Maine rapid, to find one more quiet Maine water, one more quiet Maine moment. We near the end of today's flight on Air Maine. We hope you enjoyed the view. This is a state worth seeing in all seasons, all times, in all ways. This is where the sun first rises on these United States each morning, and when it sets on a jewel, on a place that remains much as God created it, on a people determined to keep it that way. Early on, we said that Maine touches only one other state. That's misleading. Truth be told, Maine touches everyone who sees it.